Hello everyone, welcome to the next lecture. In this lecture, we are going to learn about what are sources. Okay, so what are sources? So sources are basically circuit elements that provide energy to a electrical circuit. Okay, so they are classified as your voltage sources and your current sources. Okay, current sources. Okay. On the basis of dependency, they are further classified as independent sources and your dependent sources. Okay. So next one we have is your independent sources. Okay. So independent sources are further classified as your independent voltage sources. Okay. Sources and your independent current sources. Okay. Current sources. Okay. So what is an independent voltage source? So a voltage source which is completely independent of the current flowing through it. Okay. So the value of the voltage. Okay. So the value of the voltage is independent of the direction of the current, or you can say direction as well as and magnitude of the current flowing in a circuit. Okay. Then that particular element is known as your independent voltage source. Okay. So this is the basic symbol of an independent voltage source. Okay. So it is represented by a circle. Let's say if the voltage is constant, the magnitude of the voltage is constant and it is independent of the value of the current and the direction of the current, then we can term it as a DC voltage source, independent DC voltage source. So let's say, so it will be your independent DC voltage source. Okay. And if the value of the voltage is constantly alternating or changing with respect to time, then we can say it as a AC voltage source. Okay. Source. And this is your direction of current. Okay. In this case, like the current is in the opposite direction. And so next one we have is your independent current sources. Okay. So if the magnitude of the current source, okay, is independent of the voltage across it, then we can term it as a independent current source. Okay. So if the magnitude of the current source remains constant with respect to time and it is not changing, then we can term it as a DC current source, and it is shown in the figure. Okay. So this is a DC current source. Okay. And like I of S is your, and it does not depend upon the terminal voltage. And if it keeps on changing, okay, so it is basically constantly changing with respect to time or alternating with respect to time, then we can say it is a AC current source, independent AC current source. Okay. So these are the basic symbol of your DC as well as your AC current source. Okay. So one more thing you need to remember is, like, your independent sources can also be used, so your independent sources, okay, sources can also be connected into a circuit. Okay, into a circuit in such a way that they can absorb power. Okay, so we can also connect them to absorb power in such a way that they can absorb power. Okay. So next one we have is your dependent sources. Okay. So what are dependent sources? So in these sources, the output depends on some other voltages or current flowing through a circuit. Okay. So dependent sources are basically of four types. Okay. First one we have is your voltage controlled voltage source. Okay. So VC, VS, okay. And so one more thing you need to remember is dependent sources are represented by a diamond shaped symbol, okay. So like they are expressed as V is equal to A times of Vx, like A with a constant, okay, and they are given, they are written like this, okay. So V is equal to A times of Vx, they are written like that, okay. So A is the constant over here, okay. Next one we have is your current controlled current source, okay. So current controlled your voltage source, okay. So in this case also, like it is expressed as V is equal to, because it is dependent upon the value of the current, A times of I of x, okay, and it is written like this, okay. The next one we have is your voltage controlled current source, VCCS, okay, and it is given as I is equal to your, since the current is dependent upon the voltage, I is equal to A times of V of x, okay. So like they are represented like by a diamond and an arrow. And the last one we have is your current controlled current source, okay, CCCS, and they are represented as I is equal to A times of I of x, okay. So this is how they are. So these are the four different types of your dependent sources, okay. So the important things that you need to remember is independent sources are represented by a circle, and dependent sources are for representation of dependent sources we use diamond shape, okay. So that's all for today, guys. I will see you in the next lecture.